Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Pitch Side Podcast channel. I'm your host, the HOD of the PSP. Like, share, comment on the video what you think of the game, and subscribe to the channel, enable notifications to receive all the updates from these match recaps and all of the content on the channel. You can follow us on social media. I'm at PSP on Twitter, Pitch Side Pod on Instagram, and you can listen to the podcast tomorrow on Spotify, Google Podcasts, or any other platform. And we're coming to you, of course, straight after the first leg of the semi-final of the Copa del Rey in Spain between Sevilla and Barcelona. 2-0 it ended for Sevilla. This game, I think, tells its story. It's pretty straightforward if you look at it. Barcelona were raided by injuries before the game, and they had Dest, Pjanic, and Pjanic also Braithwaite. I just remembered Braithwaite missing for the game, already added to the injuries of Fati, Roberto, and Piqué missing as well. So pretty much it was out of the hands of Koeman. The starting lineup of the game, starting with Firpo as a right back, Mingueza and Umtiti playing as a centre half with Longley not available. Also, starting with, the rest of the club was pretty normal in terms of the starting lineup, with De Jong and Busquets starting in the middle, with Messi, Dembele, Pedri, and Griezmann playing up top. Almost was a little bit confusing to see who's going to be playing up top. Was it Griezmann? Was it Messi? In the end, it was pretty much Messi playing up top, with Griezmann trying to take the right hand side, pretty much of the Sevilla defense, in which he wasn't adding anything. He didn't give Alex Vidal on that side any sort of trouble. Dembele huffed and puffed in the first half. He didn't do much. It was clear. I think the tempo of the game was pretty simple, if you can tell the story. Sevilla, were pretty hard working in the midfield, particularly Joan Jordan. I really liked his sort of active nature all in the middle of the park, trying to mark Messi out in particular, not letting him pass the ball freely, foul him if necessary. Papu Gomez was played as a winger, pretty much not exactly as a number 10, because that position in Sevilla looks reserved for Rakitic, more or less. Papu Gomez was forced to play a little bit wide. He was dropping central, but he wasn't exactly, contributing much, but he still had a decent game by his standards. Barcelona were really slow, no press in the first half. They weren't exactly going for it. Sometimes they were really static. Most of the time in the first half, they were static. Sevilla were running all over them at certain points, possessing the ball, being way comfortable sometimes on the ball. And the first half was pretty much one chance from Sevilla, one chance from Barcelona, and the goal from Sevilla. And the goal itself translates a lot of problems in Barcelona's defense and midfield, with the continuous use of Busquets pretty much haunting Barcelona as they go. The spaces behind him, the runs that the Sevilla players were making behind them. Rakitic was making runs, Fernando was making runs a couple of times, and Jules Koundé, from all people, a centre-half, making a run all across the pitch, unmarked and unnoticed, and goes inside the box of Barcelona and scores. And he had a chance earlier, so there shouldn't be a warning there. Jules Koundé with, not the cleanest of finishes, but, a finish that was enough to go into the net, past Ter Stegen for a 1-0 lead. From there, Sevilla controlled the game, slowed down the tempo. Barcelona felt really static in the end of the first half. Sevilla got what they needed of the game. They managed the game in the second half, had a terrific defensive performance, and Barcelona just started to open themselves too much. It was Barcelona attacking, Sevilla counter-attacking. Barcelona, despite all of their attempts, couldn't get behind the Sevilla defense. The only time they did was Messi shooting and Bruno with a brilliant save, denying him the opportunity like he did in the first half. As for Sevilla, they bounced on the counter. As I mentioned, the spaces behind the likes of Busquets. De Jong was pulling forward but not tracking back as much, and eventually they caught them on the counter, and Rakitic scored the second goal against his former side. Sevilla had the luxury of the bench, really. They had the opportunity to get in the likes of Munir Haddadi, the likes of De Jong, the likes of Oliver Torres, Nemanja Gudel for more defensive solidity, and they just shut the game down, and Karim Rakik, of course, for an inched Escudero. And they had the luxury of the options on the bench for Leon Lopetegui, something Ronald Koeman couldn't have with the absences and the injuries he has. So Sevilla had the advantage. They catch Barcelona off guard with the second goal. They end the game. It's a pretty comfortable lead for them, and I think this is an irredeemable lead for Barcelona. It's going to be pretty impossible with this kind of standard, with the game they've been playing and with the performances they've been put in. It looks almost impossible that they will regain the lead and they will somehow turn this around at Camp Nou against Sevilla, who's going to be surely pretty solid in the back in that game. And also you need to think just short term, because next week in the midweek it will be Barcelona travelling to Paris to face PSG, and God knows how Barcelona are going to be managing that game without those players that I mentioned. The defensive mistakes, the midfield spaces, there's a whole lot of troubles and problems that Barcelona need to fix ahead of that game against PSG. Sevilla, on the other hand, managed the game pretty well. They had a smart game plan, they played to their strengths, they pressed Barcelona when needed, they dropped off when they needed, and they had a terrific defensive performance, and they picked off the mistakes that Barcelona made in the first half and the second half in terms of marking, in positioning, and leaving spaces in behind. And they won the game by a healthy margin, I think, leading into the second leg in 1 month time in Camp Nou. That's it for the game. A deserved win for Sevilla. Congratulations. I would say congratulations for them reaching the final, because it looks irredeemable for Barcelona. Like, share, comment on this video what you think of the game, subscribe to the channel, of course, most importantly, enable notifications to receive all the updates. Follow us on social media, links will be in the description. I'm at SaltPSP on Twitter, Pitch Sideboard on Instagram, and you can listen to the podcast tomorrow on Spotify or any other platform. I was your boy, the HOD of the PSP, and until next time, goodbye.